we are back. Vin and Dave's Destination Unknown. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Whoa, that was loud.
Can you turn down? I think both of our headphones are probably a little loud if you want to whack them down. Mine's on 2. Mine's on number 2.
I know, but holy cow, like who did you have in here? These are cranked to 11. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Take it to 11. I just painted an 11 on there, and yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. Okay, I think that's much better. Yeah, that sounds good to me, and it looks good. It looks good. Oh well, no, you're still clipping.
What is up with my voice?
I've got you. I got you covered. Don't worry.
Man, it's like the voice of God coming out of this thing.
We're gonna fix it in the mix. That's the whole that's the whole plan. That's the whole plan. Is just to fix it in the mix. All right, so yeah, mine too.
Yeah, you're clipping too.
This is amazing. Interesting.
You know, weirdly enough, this isn't the only electronic issue that I've noticed today. So on the way here, ooh, that sounds so much better.
Yes, I think that might have helped. Go ahead.
Yeah. So on the way here, I have Sirius XM radio.
Yes.
And so I'm listening to my normal dose of hair metal and Ozzy's Boneyard. And it was so strange because I was getting analog interference. Now, if you're listening to digital radio, you will get digital interference.
Which is basically just, it cuts off.
Silence, right. It doesn't understand the signal. It just, shuts off. And then it'll come back a short time later. Well, the problem that I was having was I was actually getting static. And I was getting, like, distortion in the signal. And I'm like, this isn't possible. Like, not only is it weird, it's not possible. So where is this static?
The simulation is breaking down, dude. The simulation is breaking down.
Yeah. Like, I have no other explanation. I have no idea what's going on, but you can't get analog static on a digital channel. You just can't.
It's very, very strange. This static does not exist. I think that goes perfectly along with our topic for today, wine. What are we drinking? We're drinking. This is from our good buddy Glenn.
Yes.
Glenn.
Ravana.
Glenn,
again.
Thank you so much. As always, he's like an honorary Free Stater at this point. He's up here so often.
He is a proper dude.
He is a great guy, great guy. It's always great to see him when he rolls up. Also want to give a shout out and a thank you to Tao Jones, longtime listener and viewer, and I think he might even be there in the chat. He hit us on the Bitbacker Power Chat and dropped a Bitcoin Cash donation to the show. That goes to wine. So if anybody else would like to contribute, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the topics, and you want to contribute, you want to see more great shows with us slightly inebriated, you can do that by going to bitbacker.io/powerchat/VinArmani. You can actually check and get the link if you're viewing this on YouTube. The link's right there in the show notes. Otherwise, bitbacker.io/powerchat/VinArmani, and you can go and check that out. We appreciate, of course, anything that you throw into the show. We don't do ads or anything like that. We just sit here and we talk. And tonight we're talking about one of the freakiest things that I've ran across in a while. But it's freaky because I'm not really exactly sure why it bothers me, but it bothers me greatly. And that's the most disturbing part about it, is that like the weirdness to it is it's a type of weirdness that I have not yet encountered. And so, but I think that it goes to, there are some other things that happen. So anyway, it's this website, This Person Does Not Exist. So for people who haven't seen this, thispersondoesnotexist.com. I am just gonna, it's best to view it on your phone, I think, because that's when it's really sort of freaky. I think on the desktop you can start to see some artifacts and stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna hold up to the camera some pictures that come from this, and all you do is it's very simple. You just go to the site. It's going to show you a picture, and then you can just refresh, and it'll give you a new picture. But I'm going to show you this picture. This is just one, and then I'll maybe refresh through until I find some. Okay, there's a picture, a little boy, right? A normal little boy. Okay. Show you another one. Let me just refresh. Okay, here's one. This is just refreshing. Here's a lady sitting here. Got a background there. You see that one, Dave? Mm-hmm. I'll just do another one here. These were two good ones in a row. Oh, you've got that. Oh, that one's great. Here, let me hold this one up. So Dave got this one. Yeah. So here you go. So the thing about all of these, people can go and check it out for themselves. I mean, and it's just pretty much, it's endless, just pictures of people. And the thing about it is none of these people exist. Basically, there's an AI that they've developed that has a bunch of different pictures, and what it will do is it will pull up, I guess it's sort of like a grid of, I think, 6 to 10 pictures, and it basically will pull up a picture, and then it'll randomly pick one along that 6 to 10, and it does like that morph.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it does it in a way to where it actually sort of, it's weird. It like picks up traits as it goes down through the list. Mm-hmm. So it's really like shuffling these people all together. And the crazy part about it is that like, this is not a CG, like a really good CG or something like that. It's not, you're not looking at it and being like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, it looks almost real. You look at it and you can't believe that it's not, that was never a human being. Like, my brain can't even process it.
So the cool thing, and the reason I think that you're weirded out by this is because how long before we actually have replicants?
This is what I'm saying.
You know, I mean, we already have NPCs and they're bad enough.
At least in the digital domain.
Sure.
Like virtual reality.
But, tell me the difference between the digital domain and the real domain. I mean, honestly, how many people do you interact with live and in person versus
exactly.
in the digital world? Well,
I will guarantee you, sometimes there are people that I have actually met in our chat. Let's see if there are today. No, nobody that I've actually met in real life. All of these people, now I've seen them on video, some of them. But but here we go with the situation of like, so this is a photo. How long before we get some video? Well, you've got the deep fakes thing.
Deep fakes. We already have video. So we have the ability to, if anybody is not familiar with deep fakes, it was this thing where people were creating videos, mostly porn, where they would take somebody, like Sarah Jessica Parker. No,
she's terrible.
Who else?
They had the first one that I saw was Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah,
and it was really realistic. But the thing was that the voice was totally wrong. But it was like it was at least it was not that long in length, but it was pretty realistic. Where I was like, oh, okay, this actually looks like her, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, you can model the face, right? So when you have somebody who is in the public domain, they're in movies, they're television, whatever, you can get literally every angle of the face, and then you create a 3D model, and then what you can do is you can tell your software to basically map this new face onto the old face. So you find somebody with a similar body style, and boom, you have Gal Gadot doing porn. And it looks incredibly real. And that's what we're looking at here. We are training the AI, and next there will be is this a real person or a fake person? And then so you're going to do a little crowdsourcing on how people recognize the fake people from the real people.
Oh, they have that on this site. There's a little link on the bottom where you can click it, kind of. It's not exactly that. What it does is it shows you a picture, then it asks you to describe it.
Okay.
To describe the picture.
Further training the AI. That's
right.
Fantastic.
Just training the AI.
Yep. And people volunteer for this stuff, just like the DNA stuff. I mean,
CAPTCHA, Google CAPTCHA. That's training the Google cars.
Yeah.
When it's like, keep clicking till there's no fire hydrant. How many of these are bicycles? Which one of these is a click on all the ones that's a storefront or a bus or whatever. Like, of course, that's for the self-driving cars.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was surprised that you tweeted about the DNA registry being used in law enforcement.
Because I had no clue. So for people who don't know this story, there's how old was that case? 40 years or something like that? It was from the 70s. 40-something years, they just arrested a guy for the, I guess, rape and murder of like a 13-year-old girl or 11-year-old girl in Newport Beach, I believe it was, California, from the 70s. And they arrested this guy from DNA from a genealogy website, like 23andMe. And that it had come up as a match, and they arrested this guy, and they were talking about, traditional DNA, genealogical DNA. So there were two weird parts about that. The first weird part for me was I was like, I haven't done the 23andMe thing, but I was not aware that everybody that did that was going to law enforcement. That's the first thing.
Yeah. I
didn't even know that was an opt-in, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, opt-in, send my shit to law enforcement. Like, I didn't even know that was in there. Then, as I understood it, it might not have even been his DNA. It might have been a family member's DNA.
Yep.
And they were able to get it from that.
Yeah. It's incredible.
So that's weird.
It's very weird. And, so we have AI being trained on how to create uber realistic faces, right? And then we have this entire database of DNA. How long before we can actually synthesize a workable DNA from all of the DNA that we have available, till we actually can create a fully artificial person.
Isn't that what CRISPR is supposed to do? Like,
CRISPR does gene editing, but it would take a AI like the face creator to create a brand new DNA. CRISPR, you can go in and you can snip a little here, snip a little there, change it around.
Right.
But to create an entirely new piece of DNA, not from an existing piece of DNA, but from an amalgam of millions and millions of samples. And
that's the key. It's so it seems that this is the real key with the AI is that it's the samples. It needs a lot of samples. You got to train it.
Yep.
You got to train it, and that's it. And we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it full speed ahead. The world is not changing slowly. The world is changing, unbelievably quickly, too quickly. In fact,
what is that?
It's a ghost.
Somebody rolling something down the hallway.
But the world is changing too quickly.
That is off the hook. I don't know what they're rolling.
Wagon wheel?
There's a stagecoach rolling down the hall.
Yeah, stagecoach. Speaking of stagecoach, did you see the John Wayne news?
No, what happened with John
Wayne? So John Wayne gave an interview to Playboy magazine back in...
hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So he gave an interview to Playboy magazine back in like 1972 or something. It was a long, long time ago. And he
Did he say something racist?
Well, yeah, racist, homophobic. He didn't necessarily have anything against the blacks, but it was or the gays.
That was the time, though. That was the time.
He was a product of his time, and remember, the guy was already like
he was old.
Probably 50 at the time.
Yeah,
60.
he was old.
So he was born back in the probably 1920s, and this is just off. I don't know. I haven't looked up when he was born, but I'm assuming it was like 1920s.
Somebody in the chat, look it up. I'm saying teens. I'm betting teens.
Could be. So they took this Playboy interview from 1972, and they tweeted part of it, and then proceeded to rake him across the coals and say, he's tarnished forever. But this is what happens when you take something from that long ago and compare it to today's societal views. Today's perceptions have changed so much that people who, like, I was around in 1972. I didn't have very many opinions at the time.
Right,
I was two. But, it's like if people were to have interviewed, like if I had given an interview back in like the 1980s or the 1990s, it's like I would not want a comparison done with whatever I would have said back in the 90s compared to today's standards, right?
I could say that for watching myself on TV from 2011.
Sure. Yeah, and that's pretty recent.
Very recent, I think, yeah. But
7 years ago.
But it was really a whole other world, though.
Absolutely.
Like, things have changed so much in the last 5 years, just in terms of cultural mores and where the culture's at, which brings me to the other things that do not exist that we were talking about, that not just this person does not exist. I can't get over this Jussie Smollett thing. I think it's so interesting. The guy who faked, it was such a weird thing to do. Like, he faked a hate crime against himself.
Well, apparently he had gotten some kind of threatening letter.
No,
or something.
He faked that too. The cops are saying that he faked that as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was just like desperate for some racism. I mean, he just had like, there was somebody posted a meme that when the demand for racism exceeds the supply of racism, then this kind of stuff happens. Weird.
It wasn't just racism, because he's also gay. Right, so it was
So
it was homophobia.
He's
too.
the blacks and the gays, according to John Wayne.
Yes, so
it's weird how those stories kind of came out all at the same time.
But he got exactly what it was that he wanted, because initially he was like interviewed on Dateline or 2020, I believe it was. Like, all of a sudden, like, all these anchors are talking about him. They're talking about him on The View. He's the top thing. It's like all these stars are coming out. Ellen Page goes on late night and gets all weepy about the story and how she feels unsafe about walking around with her. She can't kiss her wife or whatever in public and blah, blah. And then it turns out he faked it.
And Kamala Harris, I think, was asked about that.
Kamala Harris came out in support of it. Well, he was like campaigning for her and stuff.
Wow.
Cory Booker, like all these people, and now they just all look stupid. But what I find interesting is how people are. The scary thing to me is that no one's willing to walk it back. Mm-hmm. Right? There was one woman who said. And I thought it was pretty good what she said. I'd been going through the hashtag Jussie Smollett just because it was like, it's fun, it's super funny. Like, there's some people who have just roasted him, like Charles Barkley absolutely roasted his ass. It was unbelievably funny, and there's some other ones too. But there was this woman, and she said something that was that I was like, okay, I can get with that. That makes a lot of sense. She was like. The default position when somebody comes to you and says something like this happens has to be like, okay, I hear you. How can I help you? What's the deal, right? And then if it turns out that they faked it, like it's that. Well, that's kind of sad, and it's right. Sad. It's sad. It is sad. That's exactly right. The problem was not that. The problem was that he. He said that not only did he say that they yelled out, "Oh, hey, Empire," right? Like, so they knew who he was from the show. They said hurled homophobic and racial slurs at him, but that they were wearing masks and MAGA hats.
Because when you want to hide your identity, you don't want to give away your political affiliation at the same time.
Oh, and then they threw a noose around his neck while they were beating him and said, "This is MAGA country."
Wow. Man, replace MAGA with Klan, and it's just like, 100 years ago.
And so this was where, that was where reasonable people were like, something seems wrong. But the fact that so many people were like, yeah, this is Trump's America. Trump has done this, and it's like, hold on. That's just crazy. Like, even if these individuals were Trump supporters, the fact that at 2 a.m. they're going around beating people up wearing MAGA hats and saying this is MAGA country that has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
No, that's like something out of a really bad movie. It's like when you have the stereotypical rednecks who pull up in the pickup truck and are harassing somebody, and it's like, really? I mean,
yeah, does that happen?
Man, it's crazy.
And then there was, so then there was this guy who. It's weird that this is all coming out at the same time, because it almost makes me feel like this is some sort of weird, false flaggy, like something really trying to, like, almost like if someone, you're not going to have a race war in America, but like almost if someone was riling this up to get a certain result in the 2020 election, perhaps.
Oh, sure.
Because they recently arrested, like 2 days ago, arrested this guy, and I tweeted this and I said I call bullshit. I don't know whether this was last night or night before, but they arrested this guy, Coast Guard lieutenant. They arrested him on gun and drug charges, right? So guns. In my mind, he didn't have that many guns. Maybe he had 10 to 15 guns, but he's a member of the armed services. Mm-hmm. He's an officer in the Coast Guard. I spent my life around gun people, and that was not a lot of guns at all.
No, I mean, tragically, mine were all lost in a boating accident.
Right,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, it's weird to me that they're really setting this. It is very much like an episode of NCIS or one of the shows where after an extended investigation, and nobody will say why the investigation was occurring in the first place. They go in and they make this bust, and he had guns. He had 1,000 rounds of ammunition, which not a lot of ammunition.
Right,
1,000 rounds, not that much.
1,000 rounds is nothing. You could waste that at the range.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, you take a couple of friends to the range, you go through 1,000 rounds in an afternoon.
Yeah,
exactly. It's not that much ammo, and he appeared, according to the picture that I saw, to have a variety of weapons. They weren't all the same caliber, so you have like. What do you have, like 100 rounds of 223, 100 rounds of 9mm?
Exactly.
I mean, what was he like? The 1,000 rounds? Like, tell me how were they made up?
Exactly. Yes.
Because that is not enough to do the things that they claim he was talking about doing.
Well, and the things that this is where I was like, this is where it went into that fucking MAGA hat territory, to where they were like, well, we found a letter. So what's their evidence? They're like, well, he had a letter. He had a letter that he had written to a white supremacist leader. Now, here was the weird part, that he mailed to himself. He wrote it, then mailed it to himself, wherein he said, I'm just trying to find a way to end most of the life on Earth, talking about releasing some sort of a biological plague.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he had the cape. Did they find biological weapons there?
No, they found steroids and human growth hormone, though. So, I mean, that's...
So they found steroids, human growth hormone, and then they also found some, it's a tramadol or something like
something
that.
Like that, yeah.
But it's a painkiller for like back pain or something. So it's like, they found steroids and human growth hormone, but he's a military officer.
Yeah.
Wait, you think there's not, that military officers don't have steroids and growth hormone and painkillers? Like, what are you talking? That's like standard issue, man. That's nothing new. And then he had a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet with some names of Democratic lawmakers and also like CNN news anchors. And he had, what else did he? Oh, and he had Googled some things like where to see congressmen in D.C. And something else. What happens if Trump is impeached? Something like that. And because of that, he's an extremist and a domestic terrorist who is planning to launch an attack
against most of the inhabitants of the earth. It's like. Man, that 1,000 rounds, I hate to tell you, brother, but that ain't gonna last long.
It's so weird. It's so, and I think it's I'm not sure whether because it feels very like contrived, right? It feels like these are contrived and they're put out there, but maybe they're just the things that stick, right? So maybe it's like the media, they figured out. They've been so starved for like advertising. All of their models are failing in terms of, the newspapers, the cable news is not getting what it used to. And so now they're just like, okay, we only will do the things that are sensational. We only will do the news that basically we only will do the news that will get people fighting on Twitter.
Yeah.
And on Facebook.
Because it goes back to social media. And we'll have to talk about our social media conversation we had after last week's show. That was hilarious. But it does, the world has changed. It is a new world we're living in, and it is entirely driven, seemingly, by social media. And the media sells a story. They're selling, they want eyeballs, they want views, they want likes, they want retweets. They want the same things that, an angsty teenage boy wants. It's like the media has become just another consumer just looking for likes and retweets.
Yeah, well, that's the democratization, isn't it? Like, that's the democratization of this. Because, CNN's Twitter account has the exact same functionality as my Twitter account.
Yeah.
I can make a Facebook page, they can make a Facebook page. But they're also looking to get those retweets. Mm-hmm. And those blue check marks that's like a whole class now. That's a whole thing.
Or a cult.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had the opportunity to get one of those blue check marks, but since I use a pseudonym, they were asking me
what. Vin Armani isn't your real name.
I was gonna have to send in all this ID and all this type of stuff, and I was just like, nah, it's not worth it. Not worth it to do. And I'm glad I didn't actually, because it seems like besides your obvious so let's go to what the blue check marks were initially supposed to be about. The blue check marks were initially supposed to be about given to people who would have other people potentially try to fake that they were them.
Sure.
To create a fake account and fake that they were them. Okay. Now
so everybody, basically.
Well, no. So if you're like a celebrity.
Oh, no, I get that. But I'm just saying that you could literally impersonate anyone and fool people. Catfish. Look at catfishing.
Well, yes. But it's not about catfishing, right?
No. The blue check mark was specifically to weird electrical interference.
No, it's just it's a weird clip. It's just clipping. The blue check mark, the idea was this is the real person.
Yeah.
Right? That was the whole thing. Now, I have actually had people fake being me. So, for instance, because I was on a TV show, if you go to Instagram and you type in Vin Armani.
I'm doing it right now.
I'm not at Vin Armani on there is not even me, because someone had already gone and squatted and was pretending to be me. And there's multiple Vin Armanis on Instagram. And so this is something I had actually already had it happen. But then you go and you look at some of the people who have blue check marks, and it's like, what? No one would fake being you. Like these journalists, it's like there's no reason no one would fake being you. And so why do you even need a blue check mark? Why do you have that? But it's just like people who have 700. There are people out there with blue check marks who have 700 followers. Seriously.
You know what's hilarious is that the people who were faking being you, some of them are quite imaginative. Some of them were just phoning it in because Vin Armani 9, Vin Armani 13, Vin Armani 11.
Told you.
I'm just like,
told you.
Come on, what are you, a bot? I mean, geez, this is ridiculous.
Told you.
Wow.
So I'm somebody who's actually had this problem. I can't get a blue check mark. But some random junior reporter for the Washington Post who writes dumbass editorials can get one, who's got 300 followers. And I'm like, explain that to me. I'm really trying to understand that. Is there a big call for people faking being Washington Post reporters? Yeah, and it's just... So I don't even understand what the blue check mark is anymore. I don't even understand what it does.
It provides legitimacy. I mean, it's like one of those, but not in a real way, right? It's like fake legitimacy. It's like having a degree.
Yes, it's legitimacy to someone, but not to me.
It's like, oh, blue check mark. Oh, it's like, oh, master's degree or doctorate.
Right, I've got a graduate degree in Twitter.
Yeah, it's which explains why all the HuffPost people were let go.
You know what? It actually is. That's exactly what it is. It's like putting fucking letters after your name, isn't it?
PhD, blue check mark.
Check mark.
Vin Armani, blue check mark.
So, but see, that's like a totally emergent thing too. That's totally emergent. Like that's not. It's just one of those things that it appears that way because everyone was after a blue check mark. At a certain period of time, everybody was after a fucking blue check mark.
Sure, because then it's a lot easier to rely on the logical fallacy, the appeal to authority, because it's like, oh, the guy with the blue check mark said that. Oh,
right.
Right. So then you become what other people use as their logical fallacy.
Such a weird world we're living in, man. No, seriously. Today was one of the weirdest days in news for me. Like, first off, there's a lot. The last 48 hours, there's been a lot of weird shit in the news. We had, this thing talking about Michael Jackson and this Neverland movie or whatever, and these people coming out. So he's finally getting busted out. R. Kelly I don't know whether he was arrested. He was indicted.
He was charged, yeah.
Yeah. This guy, I don't know if you saw this video where he was talking about the pedophile wormhole on YouTube. Have you seen this?
Wormhole?
That's what he calls it, a wormhole. Something like...
Is that a sexual reference? Or?
Kind of. Yes. Because he's like, okay, this video is fucking crazy. It's got millions of views, but he's like, okay, he's like, okay, you just type in bikini hall, click there. Then he's like, okay, see this like child gymnast right here? Click on it. And then it's just like nothing but like videos of young girls. And then there's like all these comments of timestamps. And they click on the timestamp and it's like she's in some legs akimbo, something like weird. And
he's akimbo. That's a word you don't hear much.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I've got the vocabulary, dude. and so he's just going off on it, and it got picked up by the media. You've got in Venezuela, the Venezuelan crisis. First, you had so the military did shoot somebody over there, but it was with rubber bullets. They injured people. Somebody died. But then Richard Branson threw a concert. Did you hear about this?
No, the Virgin guy?
Yeah, on the Colombia side of the border as a sort of like a fundraiser trying to raise $100 million for Venezuela.
Wow.
So he's on the side of the overthrow. And so Maduro on the other side of the river threw a competing concert. So on either side of the border, there were dueling concerts. And I'm like, that's weird. Like,
again, 80s movie plot.
That was exactly what I said in my Twitter. I was like, this is are we living in an 80s movie? Like, what's happening right now? Yeah. Is this real? Is this real life right now? Because
that's the level of the AI at this point. So 2-3 weeks ago, you had said, how do we know this Maduro guy is actually doing anything?
Yes, exactly.
Well, now we have AI creating fake people, and we can have them do whatever we want. How do we know anything is actually happening?
How do we know Richard Branson threw a concert on the border? And it's such a weird, like the border of Colombia and Venezuela is not like, there ain't shit there. And Richard Branson just was like, you saw how it ended up for the Fire Festival people. Like, Richard Branson is really going to throw a party there? And then Maduro is like, fuck it, concert for us. How many people are at these concerts? Like, what is happening? What is the deal?
And Richard Branson is a smart, assuming he exists, he is a smart guy, right? And he has spent his life building a fortune, building an empire. The guy has his stuff together. Would you assume that a guy who really, really has his stuff together would go, I need to raise $100 million. I'm going to go throw a concert in a tiny place halfway across the world.
I figured he could just call his friends. Like,
right.
He lives on a fucking private island, Necker Island, and he's got rich and famous people hanging out there all day long.
Yeah.
You don't think he can scrounge up $100 million? He's got to throw a concert?
It's ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing, the whole concept is literally a bad 80s movie plot. Richard Branson, in my mind, the Richard Branson that I recall from a few days ago, would not have ever had the idea of trying to raise $100 million by throwing a concert. That doesn't work that way. Like if you want to raise $5,000, okay, throw a concert.
Right.
$100 million? First of all, it's a ridiculous amount of money to try to raise in a fundraiser.
And with no planning.
None. No planning. So
dude, because I'm like, wait. This thing with Guaido declaring himself the interim president has been what, a month? Mm-hmm. Maybe a month and a half.
Yeah. So I mean,
how long to throw a concert that's going to raise $100 million in profit? You're going to do that in a month?
No.
Even if he started, and that's to say that he started the day that this dude was like, I'm the president.
Yeah. Who did he have play?
Supposedly he had Juanes, who's one of the biggest Spanish language rock stars in the world. That was the only name that I saw on there.
Okay. So awesome, but not smart. Not what I would expect out of Richard Branson. Like there's something very, very wrong with everything, but specifically with this, because it just doesn't make any sense. The number doesn't make any sense. The method doesn't make any sense. There is no rhyme or reason that any of this should be. I could say, well, it's just all about the optics, but then again, it's like it didn't get much coverage.
But then Maduro throwing another concert too? Maduro throwing a concert on the other side? Like, again, no planning.
Yeah. How are they getting these people? Like, is everybody just available, waiting for somebody to call them up and say, hey, come play over, across this river? Is that a thing? I know here, like if you want to get U2 or you want to get, some big band, like I don't know who's big these days, but,
U2
Justin.
U2 is still big.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Get Justin Bieber,
Bieber's no longer big.
Yeah, But, so he might be available, but people just don't sit around waiting for the phone to ring and go, oh, okay, I'm going to go play a concert. No. It's crazy.
There's more and more. And this is within this week that Elon Musk says, we've got an AI that we can't release because it's too dangerous because it writes fake news stories. You give it a little topic and it writes a convincing fake news story.
Wow.
And Elon Musk said, we've got it. It works. Way too dangerous to ever let anybody. We can't release this into the public. It's way too dangerous.
Interesting that they would tell us about that. Right? Like,
well, Musk would.
Well, okay.
I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good guy. I really do. I think he's a good guy in this. And he's very skeptical of the AI. And he may have been doing that. He may have gone rogue on that. That may have been a rogue move where he was like, maybe we don't have it, but we know somebody who does.
Yeah.
And so we're going to say we've got it, even though really what's being tested. See, because here's another thing. We didn't see any photos of... Oh, no, this is fucking me up. There were no photos of this concert. The only photo was a photo of a girl, and I thought that it was very, very weird. Only photo I saw was a photo of a girl. She had like flowers in her hair, and she was walking along, like holding some guy's hand, and it said that she was traveling to the border, like she was a Venezuelan traveling to the border, hoping to sneak across to go to the concert.
Did it
now, granted, this is a bridge that you can't sneak across a bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, watch any war movie. So did it have Shutterstock like imprinted on the photos?
Well, that's what it brings me to. This person does not exist, right?
Yeah.
And so, okay, I didn't see pictures of that. You know what else we haven't seen? We haven't seen a mugshot of this guy that was supposedly arrested for the lieutenant. It's interesting that it's a Coast Guard lieutenant. What made me think, oh, that's very interesting, and I mentioned this in the tweet because I also got creeped out about it with the this person does not exist, is it went straight for me to 1984. Because there's a whole situation in 1984 where Winston, I guess his name is Winston Smith, the protagonist, he works in the Ministry of Truth, and so his job is to create fake news, to censor news, cut things out, particularly to go like back into the history of the news, rearrange it, and then put it forward. And it's that whole idea of like, we've always been at war with Eurasia. So they'll go back and they'll change out the word that it was like, oh, they were at war with East Asia. He'll change it out to Eurasia. But there's a thing that he does with, there's a guy who they're going to award some sort of medal, and he takes a dude's picture from somewhere else and a different name. So this person never existed, never died in the war. He makes up this whole story. There's this whole story about his heroics in the war. They find a picture of like some burning buildings or whatever, put this guy's photo, say he's awarded this medal posthumously and all of this, and it's like this person never existed.
Yeah. So how can you really trust anything in the past 20 years?
I don't know about the past 20 years, but the past 24 hours, I'm starting to get really freaked out. Seriously.
Well, welcome to the club. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, when I first heard about this face creating AI thing, it was a while ago. It was probably a year or so at least. And I think Coast to Coast actually did a thing on it where they were like, yeah, I mean, you can literally create new faces that have never existed. And the way people like verify, it's all about just chatting online or interacting through email or through Twitter or whatever. And if they pass the Turing test or whatever, then it's a real person. And so we have a, picture, as many pictures as you want, throw a bunch of pictures together. You could create a dossier of someone who has literally never existed. If we feed the DNA data into the AI, then it can crank out DNA samples that match this person that never existed.
Interesting.
And then you have this entire thing where it's like we have, the Truth Commission or whatever, and that wasn't that recently a thing as well, where they were like combating fake news with this Truth Commission or whatever it was.
Yeah, they've been on this. The fake news thing has been something that for the past 2 years we covered. That was something that on the Vin Armani show we talked about it a lot. The mainstream media were the ones who started this whole fake news thing.
Yeah.
They created a list of alternative media outlets. They started calling them fake news. They did all this. And then Trump picked it up. And now the mainstream, and he started calling them fake news. He turned it back on them. Now the mainstream media, I've heard time and time again them saying, oh, Donald Trump started this meme of fake news. He's the one who first used it. And I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Because I know the Activist Post was on. I mean, that was the thing. We were broadcasting on Activist Post. Like that was our affiliate, and Activist Post was on these fucking fake news lists that were being and we were like, what the fuck? What is this?
And before that, it was Drudge Report.
Yeah, Drudge was on there too. Yeah,
it's like
that's when Alex Jones started to get caught up in the whole thing.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Because they were lumping it all in together with like the National Enquirer and the Star and all that. And so we've had certain media in the U.S. that has always been referred to as, read that with a pinch of salt.
The National Enquirer, that type of shit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So. And it
Weekly World News, remember that one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The best UFO reports.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was like, it was known. It was like, okay, I'm going to read this for entertainment, not for education.
Exactly.
Then you had legitimate news that, like, I would consider Drudge to be pretty darn legitimate.
Seems pretty good to me, yeah.
Yeah. So, you had the mainstream threatened media, right? The ABC, CBS, CNN, who were threatened by the Drudges of the world. And then they said, okay, well, they're going to be no better than the National Enquirer. That's fake news, blah, blah, blah. And then of course, when anyone has their meme turned against them, they get upset about it. They get angry. They get resentful. Nobody likes that. So that's why then they blamed it on Trump. And now it's been memory hold, and they've reprogrammed all the NPCs to just spout off about how horrible the Orange Man is.
So weird. It's so hard to know what's going on, dude, because it strains. I think some of this stuff is just you put it in there, this fake shit, on purpose, just to make people think that the world is way different than it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually the trick.
Yep.
The trick is to make somebody believe that they live in a world where there could actually be dueling concerts between Richard Branson and Nicolas Maduro, where this could actually be a real thing.
Mm-hmm. And like everybody's supposed to get behind it, and then we all dance at the end while the credits roll. It's like this is reality. Well, reality. It's not a movie plot, right? And there isn't always a happy ending, and there isn't always like a clean wrap up of all the loose ends.
Right.
And when you have something like that, it just is ridiculous. And we are living in a time of total ridiculousness.
Yeah, that you've seen the movie Idiocracy, right?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
It's totally a prophecy.
Yeah.
At this point, the weird thing is, but again, it's almost like you cannot know, how much of the reaction online is real or is not real.
There's no way to know.
So some people will admit that they've got multiple Twitter accounts and are doing all this stuff. So it's like somebody said to me, I was talking to somebody, and they just slipped in something about, one of my 12 Twitter accounts. And I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean one of your 12 Twitter accounts? And then it's like I'm constantly bombarded with, so on a daily basis, I'm bombarded with Craig Wright sock puppets. And it's like, they're clearly sock puppets, to where it's like, there was one today, joined December 2018. No, this one was like very poor, like terrible screen name, no pictures, no profile picture, none of that, no background, and all stuff that's just nothing about. It's all just about Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision, and Craig Wright. And I'm just like, this is clearly a sock puppet account. You're going through. You've probably commented. You probably have 7 or 8 sock puppet accounts that have commented on here, and so it's like it's very hard to know when you look around, because if people are running around with 10 and 12 accounts, you don't even know where people's heads are at. You don't know what people are actually concerned about, because you figure if individuals are doing that themselves, then you've got the Russian bot factories, you've got all this shit, but it's just like, how widespread is this?
Tremendously widespread. And I will say, not through any personal knowledge of my own, but I will say that you can actually hire assistants in India very, very cheap to start up accounts, go like things, go retweet things. I know that you can buy likes and retweets. I know you can definitely do that. Totally. Yeah. And if you have a personal assistant in India, that you're paying $2 an hour,
right?
You can have an influence in social media, because it's gamification of the platform. We have put this platform out there and said, okay, everybody go out there and be social and do your thing. But then anybody who has a proclivity to game the system will figure out these things and go out and game the system, and that's exactly what's happening.
It's very, very weird, man. And I don't like. See, I guess I don't have it in me to want to control what other people are thinking. That's just not my. That's just not where I'm at.
That's why you're not in politics.
So I have a tough time wrapping my head around it, but what I do know is that there are those individuals out there, and I do know that something like this face creation thing, there are many steps before you get to face creation. Like the fake news is before, or at least news writing. We've known, so it's been known that artificial intelligence, or at least bots to a certain degree, have written sports, especially articles, for a very long time, at least a decade. That's just been known, and other sort of like wire stuff. You know what I mean? Just like your standard shit. But I guess the assumption has always been that they were reporting actual facts. Then when you've got fake news, but fake news is categorized as, so there's like that it's got political spin. Mm-hmm. So the political spin has always been there. That's fine. That's not necessarily fake news, right? So even Donald Trump is using the term incorrectly.
Sure.
So the mainstream media was using it incorrectly to start with. Donald Trump is using it incorrectly. Fake news is like literally did not, like fiction.
Sure, like, inventing the results of an emissions test on a vehicle that never actually occurred, like NBC did.
Right.
That could be called fake news, but don't point it out to them because then you'll get banned. That happened years ago. Years ago, they were actually caught dead in the middle of actually completely faking this entire story.
Well, CNN and the Iraq War, which you look back at, like the guys in the studio, the Iraq War dude in the studio with, I think he's got a green screen, and it's really bad. You look at it now, but this was like the Iraq War 1, like in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And there have been some other ones where they've gotten caught, like pretending they were in two different places. Oh, Anderson Cooper in the hurricane.
No, was it? No, I don't know if it was Anderson, but it was one of them. And the guy was like literally like, it's like so.
And then somebody just like walks by.
There are these two guys just walking by, casual, in the background. That's fake.
No, the Anderson fake. Cooper one was he was like waist deep in water.
Oh wow, nice.
And like, we're here, and then somebody just like walks by, like they were standing in some sort of like sinkhole or something.
Yep. So, but if you think about it in these terms, right? Like, what do you do on YouTube to get views? You get an awesome thumbnail, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so it's all about the perception. So you'll get clicks if you have an awesome thumbnail and it just happens to come up in somebody's feed. They're going to be like, oh, well. Of course I want to know what would happen if I did this to a, snail. And you click on it, right? Microwaving grapes apparently is a big thing now.
They spark. That's what I saw.
Yeah, grape plasma. But yeah, so I'm just like, this is the thumbnailization of news. Because when you get that photo of Anderson Cooper, waist deep in water, and that image is going to live on, and people are going to want to click on that, and they're going to want to,
Right.
So it really is just trying to boil it all down into one like instant in time that draws people in and makes them want to subscribe to your service, watch your show, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
The soundbite. But the soundbite has gotten even less. Like it used to be a 30-second soundbite.
Oh, now it's a 24th of a second or a 30th of a second if you're on. Yeah, because it's one frame.
It's a frame.
You got one frame. And, well, of course, now with YouTube, you have multiple frames. So you have the one frame that's sitting there, and then you have the video preview that if you hover over, you'll actually do 10 seconds of the video.
And it shows you the subtitles on the what are those called? Not subtitles. Are they called subtitles? Yes. Shows you thank you. Shows you the subtitles on there as well, which is handy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they've so basically the media has, as they saw their traditional forms, their traditional medium plural, their traditional media forms disintegrating.
Yep.
They were like brought in some social media experts, I'm sure, social media experts. I'm doing air quotes. And so now they've become YouTubers now at this point.
Yeah, they're just like every other YouTuber. They're the PewDiePies of media. It's like, what can I do to get? And it's all about the gamification, right? Because the people that are great at YouTube and getting views have figured out the system. It's not that they have 10 million fans. It's that they have figured out how to exploit the platform.
Right.
They've weaponized it.
Right. Yeah. What's gonna work? What's gonna sell? What's gonna get people's eyeballs to just keep coming back?
Yeah. And traditional media, they did that with, I mean, newspapers, headlines. Just the headline itself was that back in the day. Right.
Right. Extra, extra. Read all about it.
Yeah, Millard Fillmore, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, okay, so you buy the newspaper, so you pay your, 4 cents or whatever for the newspaper, and because of the headline, because that one thing grabbed your attention from across the street, and you're like, I got to buy that, so you come in and you buy it.
The huge headline that you could read across the street.
Oh, yeah.
That was the thing. Yeah, they had gamed it. They had figured it out.
Yep.
They had figured it out.
Yeah, Dewey defeats Truman.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
But that gamification is now extended.
But were they faking the news altogether?
Yeah.
At that time, even?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was worse back then.
Really?
One of the presidential candidates was accused of being a hermaphrodite during the election. Now today, I don't know if that would necessarily be all that bad.
You might that you'd probably win off that.
Yeah, you could. But back in the 1800s,
Right.
First of all, people had to figure out what a hermaphrodite was. Then they had to go, wow, do I want to vote for that? No, might as well have a Catholic in the office. And then it's like if people, and speaking, towards the John Wayne thing. Go back and look at some of the revered leaders from the past, JFK.
Oh, yeah.
You compare what JFK said privately or in the interviews from his time with today's norms. Yeah, nobody's going to like that.
No. Well, it's... I don't know. I feel like a... I feel like a relic just because I'm not like no.
You're almost as old as I am.
Seriously, no, I'm not. I'm just not like I'm not ready to do all the things that people are doing. So for instance, there was a case today. I just tweeted about it. Found it very, very interesting, and I was like, maybe I'm a relic here. Now I'm not a statist at all. I really don't think there should be a state. But there was a very interesting scenario, and that was there's 2 gay men. They're married, okay? One is an American citizen, one an Israeli citizen. I'm not sure where they got married. I don't know if gay marriage is legal in Israel, but I would think it probably isn't. Maybe it is. I mean, they're progressive about some things socially. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, they're married. So they decided that they were going to have kids. Okay? Now, they did an interesting thing. They decided they're going to have twins. They got a surrogate. Fraternal twins. They got a surrogate. They got her implanted with embryos, 2 embryos. One fertilized by, they got an egg donor, right? They got 2 eggs. One fertilized by one of the guys, the other fertilized by the other guy, implanted into this woman. So she's going to carry twins. She's going to be a surrogate.
They put a lot of thought into this.
They did. So she gives birth to these 2 twins, right? Minutes in between each other. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration says this one is a U.S. citizen, the one that is from the sperm of the U.S. citizen. This one that is from the sperm of the Israeli citizen is not a citizen.
Where did the birth take place?
Obviously not in the U.S.
Yeah,
it must have taken place in Israel. And I'm thinking that this surrogate implantation is probably Israel. They do a lot more weird medical stuff over there. They're very, very progressive with the medical shit in Israel. Very progressive. You get a lot of really out there treatments. I mean, good. I mean, I'm glad that somebody's out there doing these experimental medical treatments. That's awesome. So these guys went and they, I guess, whether they sued or whatever it was, they found their case in court. And this judge decided, and it's just news today, this judge decided that, no, they're both citizens because the way that the citizenship clause is interpreted by this judge is that since it says that you are a naturalized citizen if one of your parents, or you're a natural born citizen if one of your parents is a citizen. Okay. You're automatically a citizen. It doesn't, she says that it doesn't, I'm assuming it's a she, this judge. I think I read that it was a she. Is saying that something about the clause doesn't say that that you have to be biologically related to both of your parents. So she was basically saying because they were married, that at the time of birth, the parents were both of them because they were married.
Yeah, as long as you have one U.S. parent, you're good.
So what I thought with this was, I was like, okay, this is what this precedent means. What this precedent basically means is American guy, let's say he goes to Philippines.
Okay.
Right? Meets a Filipina, they fall in love, whatever. He marries her.
It's not the normal way it goes.
He marries her, right? Okay. Well, amongst other things, right? He marries her. They marry in Philippines. Let's say he's living in Philippines, right? They get married in Philippines. She cheats on him.
No.
Okay? Cheats on him and gets pregnant.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say this is let's maybe say this is like a black guy. Okay.
Does it have to be a black guy?
It's important. Right. It's important that it's a black guy for the story, right? So, baby's born.
Okay.
Baby is not black, not at all. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Baby is lighter than the mother.
Oh.
Okay.
Man. See, that's what happens when you cheat with the ginger. I'm telling you, man. You just never know what's going to come out.
So, but they were married at the time. Baby comes out. They get he's like, I need a DNA test because I don't trust this. Get a DNA test. Okay. Turns out, not his baby.
Okay.
Okay. So, we're going to say she cheated with a Filipino guy. Okay. She's Filipino. She doesn't have her citizenship, American citizenship. Had a baby, not with an American citizen. But they were married at the time.
Yeah.
Now, by this precedent, this baby is an American citizen.
Yeah, but I thought that precedent had already been set in different cases because I think that exact scenario has actually already played out in that way, where because they were married, they are the parents of the child, regardless of who the biological parent is. So I think that's already a thing. I think that already exists.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah,
I mean they were acting in this case as though that was like this was some sort of a new.
It's because they're the gays. See, that's the confusion because to most of the people out there,
okay,
they're not. It's like guy and girl get married. They're totally fine with that.
See, I had thought that this was an important story because it was important for legal precedent. But you're telling me that they just played this thing out just because these two dudes are gays?
Yep. That's it.
So this judge hadn't done anything special?
No.
Oh, my fucking God.
Well, she did it for the gays. So, that's, and of course, I say the gays with all the love in the world because a lot of my best friends are gay. I'm pretty gay. So,
the gays.
Yeah,
So, see, but this again goes to the sort of Jussie Smollett thing.
Yeah.
To where, of course he did what he did. Of course he did. Because you give it attention.
Yeah.
If it's one of these particular groups, you're going to do the story and make it seem like, oh, they're overcoming, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. That's justice. The precedent was already there. They went and that's probably why they even pursued the case.
Yeah. Yep.
was because they were like, oh, actually, no, this was wrong. That it should be this. Yeah. See, but the news, the way that they made it seem was that these two guys were pioneers, that they were blazing a trail.
They are. For the gays. It's just like Black Panther blazing a trail for the blacks. Best Picture nomination for Black Panther.
Yeah, that was weird. That was not a Best Picture by far. By far.
Now, I'm not speaking on the social implications of all of it, but just
were there any social implications to Black Panther? Like, yeah. I didn't see any.
Well, okay, so almost completely black cast, black. Like the entire thing was made by black people.
Do you know how long there have been completely black cast movies? Like, have you ever seen a Tyler Perry movie? Tyler Perry's been doing it for a long time.
Has Tyler Perry ever been nominated for an Oscar? No, I don't think so.
But that's my point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that was it's not like that was the first predominantly, and Black Panther wasn't all black. This is not the first predominantly black action movie either. Shaft.
Yeah, that was forever ago. And that was awesome. I mean, we even have cartoons like Black Dynamite, you know?
Oh, Black Dynamite is amazing.
It is. It's funny as hell. And Boondocks. Oh, Boondocks. I love that show.
So that's a problem. I don't follow the Oscars, so I didn't actually even know that it got a Best Picture nomination. But
not only that, it got like 7 or 8 huge nominations that have never, action movies have never been nominated in these categories. It was all over the Oscars.
It really wasn't that good of a movie, to be honest.
It was a good Marvel movie.
It was a good Marvel movie.
It wasn't the greatest movie ever made.
It was a good Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It was as good as, I actually watched it. Where did I watched it on the, I watched it on a plane. Mm-hmm. And I think it might have been an international flight. And I watched 3 movies, and they were all Marvel movies. No, I think I watched Justice League too. I watched Justice League, I watched Black Panther, and maybe I watched Wonder Woman too. And they were superhero movies. They were good comic book movies that were cool and were basically very similar. It was like...
I will definitely pick Black Panther over like Iron Man 2 and 3 because it's a better movie. But, is it in, Infinity War? No. Not even close.
No.
Is it better than Doctor Strange? Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, I'd say probably. Close. Probably.
But it's a good movie. If it was randomly on television at some point,
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun movie. And that's what it was made for. That's what it was supposed to be. But no, now it's a cultural statement.
About what, though? Like, that's I remember when it first came out, because I didn't see it in the theater. But I remember when it first came out that sort of the I'm not even going to say black intelligentsia, the sort of, what would I say? What the black folks in the chattering class, right? No, these are the like Van Joneses of the world. These are the people who have who are brought on as like a contributor on CNN or MSNBC, or like who they might talk to on The View or something like that. Everybody was all about Wakanda this, Wakanda that, and it's like it's really kind of a parody of itself, because it's like, look, this is a fictional place. This place does not exist. It is not real. It is no more real than any other, where does Wonder Woman? What's her island that she's from? Lesbos, the island of Lesbos. She's an Amazonian, right?
Yeah, Themyscira.
Oh, you knew that shit.
Yeah,
it's no more real than...
I get all crazy random memory things.
No more real than that. No more real than Namor's Atlantis. Than Metropolis is more real than Wakanda.
Well, at least it's based on a real city.
Based on a real city.
Yeah. Yeah, Wakanda is just completely invented.
It's just a completely invented place that it's like you want to tie your identity to like all of a sudden this movie comes out, you're going to tie your identity to some sort of weird place that doesn't exist. It's like this really and is like a weirdly fictional place. And also a place that doesn't want to have a goddamn thing to do with you.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. They have a wall.
Yeah.
They made Wakanda great again because they built a goddamn energy wall around the entire place.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow. Wakanda has a wall. That's true.
Wakanda. Yep.
Yes. That is wow. Nobody brought that one up. I didn't hear that during that whole thing. Wow. I got to let that one sink in for a minute.
They don't elect their leaders. They are, basically king by fiat, right? And
dictatorship.
Only the king and the warrior get the special heart-shaped plant. Why can't it be for everybody?
No.
Why doesn't everybody get a pony? Come on. I mean, seriously.
Because AOC hasn't come in. They don't have Amazon though. No Amazon in Wakanda. Yep. Look how good they're doing.
Oh, was it Bezos that said that he had all the Amazon drones ready to deliver a copy of the Mueller report to every household in the U.S.? Did you see that comment?
No.
Yeah, he was like, "Yep, Amazon standing by."
Wow. Wow. Wait, so he wants to deliver a copy of the Mueller report?
I only read the headline. Come on.
I mean, he's got a thing with the National Enquirer too. It's all about right now. Maybe it's always been this way. Maybe it's always been this way. Maybe I'm just waking up to it. I'm woke now. Which is weird. But it seems like there is almost nothing else but the media at this point. That's all there is.
Yeah,
it's the weapon.
Well, they've taken over, right? Like, okay, so social networks. And so last week after the show, we had a great conversation because there was a poll on Bing. Yes, I use Bing. And the poll was, would it be more difficult to give up television or social media? And so I clicked on, it'd be harder to give up television for me because that's mostly what I consume. And then, I was telling Vin about it, and he's like, don't you watch a lot of YouTube? I'm like, well, yeah, I watch YouTube all the time. But in my mind, YouTube is not a social platform. Even though we had a long conversation and Vin explained to me exactly why YouTube is a social platform.
Absolutely.
I don't consume it in that manner, right? So my consumption of YouTube is...
You're a passive consumer. You don't comment. I mean, look, I'm looking in here. We have all of these people commenting while we are talking. It's a social platform. I mean, there's people commenting right now as we're on YouTube. It's a social platform.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is a social platform.
It's a two-way street because I can respond to them.
Yeah.
Right. So once you have that two-way street, in my mind, that's social media.
Yep. And you're absolutely right. It's that I just didn't use it that way. I had just, I put it up on the television in the living room and I just watch hours of videos. So the media, after being threatened, like their newspaper empire was threatened then by radio and then by television and then by the internet, they have grown to take over these different platforms. And so now, when you're looking at your social media feed, not only are you being bombarded by messages and stories from the media, but you're also being bombarded by advertisers. You're being bombarded by, the various bots and the various algorithms that are out there. And then you have this fencing, like you talked about before, where if you're a liberal, you only see liberal tweets. And if you're a conservative, you only see conservative tweets. So you think, man, everybody in America is just like Ted Nugent, and if you're a liberal, everybody in America is just like AOC, and then you get into these echo chambers and you don't experience anything outside of that. There are no challenges to your thought process. And so when people come along that do challenge your thought process, obviously they are the very worst thing that you can imagine. So for a liberal, it's like, oh, well, that person's obviously a Nazi, and then on the conservative side, it's like, oh, that person's, is a, dope smoking hippie. And
I had an experience, an interesting experience with that this week, where there was a thread that had a tweet that I had done a while back where I was responding to something that AOC did, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that she had said. She was quoting. I'm going to try to get this right. This article was saying that what's the woman's name? Sanders, whatever, Huckabee Sanders, the press secretary for Donald Trump.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sarah, is that right? Sarah Huckabee Sanders, something like that.
I'd have to look it up.
She had said, oh, well, we shouldn't be listening to these millennials about the Bible or something like that. And so AOC had done this tweet where she had said something from Leviticus, and then she had said, in Genesis 2, God commanded all people to serve and protect all of creation. And so I had said, okay, two problems here. First, can someone please show me the translation where it says serve and protect? Because I've seen tend and watch over. I've seen there's work it and watch it. I've seen, but it's like tend, right? Tend to the garden. Mm-hmm. And then I said, and what's with this God commanded all people thing? Because at the time there was only one person on earth when God gave commandments in chapter 2, because she's referencing Genesis chapter 2. I said there's only one person when God gives commandments. That's the man, later called Adam, and the woman comes after the commandments. That's the whole reason that the serpent is able to do his whole thing, is because she never gets the commandment. She gets them secondhand from Adam. Okay, so this is a relatively old thread that's out there, right? And randomly, some woman who clearly is going out there, I don't know, trying to defend Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, looking for something, I don't know, PhD, has a PhD. Doctor, calls her doctor somebody is in the thing.
Blue check mark?
I don't think so. But has LGBT, all this, blah, blah, blah on there, right? So then, confronts me like, oh, it actually says, verse 15. And I'm like, no, not in verse 15. Then I made a link to Bible Hub. And then she was like, oh, well, that's just on a, wouldn't it be crazy if it was just on a website? It does. And I was like, okay, then I just like pulled down Everett Fox, 5 Books of Moses, and was like, okay, here's Fox. You know what I mean? And then she was like, oh, well, no, but I actually put that in my dissertation and all of this. What was interesting was, so as we go back and forth on this thing, and basically I'm like, look, serve and protect has a meaning to modern Americans. Like
you're on the side of all the cop cars.
Yeah, if you're going to use definitions, you're going to need to use precise definitions. Like she's crafting this in a way to make it look as though it's like some obligation that God gave an obligation to all people to like somehow protect, like to do a Greenpeace thing. And it's like, no, that's not what was happening in chapter 2. And if you're a biblical scholar, she's saying, oh, you clearly don't read Hebrew because it's this word. And I'm like, if you're a biblical scholar, let's have some intellectual like integrity here and honesty about what was going on in that passage. This dude is created as a gardener, as a slave. His job is there to work this garden. That's what's happening there. He's not some sort of a watchdog. He's not some sort of a soldier or a warrior. He's built to be a gardener, right?
So you're telling me that AOC understands Hebrew?
Well, right. So she then says, here's what I'm going to say. Number 1, you need to learn more about biblical interpretation. Number 2, something. And number 3, I'm muting you now. And I'm like, Now that is hilarious.
Yeah, she tweeted you first.
You, random person, jump into this old ass thread. I respond to you, and when it turns out I actually know what the fuck I'm talking about and have actually studied this passage, now you're going to mute me.
Yeah. That's how it works. I mean, that's how their mind works, right? So have you seen the 9 types of, what is it called? It's like the 9 types of guys on Twitter or something like that.
No. I mean, I probably have.
It's hilarious. But basically, it's like female followers encounter these 9 types of guys more than anybody else.
Okay, go ahead.
And so you've got like the ones that are like the life coach, the mansplainers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The ones that are like your white knights and blah, blah, blah.
The white knights are the worst.
Yeah. And then you have
oh my God. Those guys, I just want to smack in their face. Guys, what I always say is, my standard response is, it's not going to get you laid.
Yeah.
That's my standard response.
But they believe it is.
I just say, it's not going to get you laid. That's all you got to say. And you know what? The responses after that of people going, because it's so true.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear. You just got to call them out on exactly what they're doing. That's the guy I can't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in their mind, they're like, I'm not doing this to get laid. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do and stand up and blah, blah, blah.
No, you are.
Just, yeah.
Yeah.
The sea lion,
what is the sea lion?
So the sea lion is the, I'd like to have a civil discourse about this, blah, 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 in a very calm voice the entire time while saying outrageous things that make no sense.
Right.
So it's pretty much what I do on a weekly basis. But it's like these 9 stereotypes of guys that interact with women on Twitter. And I'm like, well, I think she was definitely one of those types. I mean, she was certainly mansplaining. She was womansplaining to you, PhD-splaining. Obviously you don't know what you're talking about because...
Which is very weird that it's like, especially of that, right? Because it's like, okay, hold on. She's like, well, you clearly don't read so yeah, you're right. So first what she was drawing upon was that AOC is a biblical scholar.
Yeah.
And reads Hebrew, and therefore that is why she used that term. Not that she was clearly completely unfamiliar with the passage.
Yeah.
Which was obvious not just by the words she chose, but by the fact that she said that God told all people. It's like, you've never read this. Someone who would say that is unfamiliar, because that passage is about God giving a commandment. And he also didn't, that's not even the commandment that he gave. Because the commandment was, don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah. Don't look at the internet. Don't go to 4chan.
That was the commandment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a commandment to go work, watch over this. It was, this is the purpose by which you are created, which is a totally different idea than I'm telling you to do this, or this is your purpose of being, this is the reason why you're here.
Yeah, I created you for this purpose.
Right.
I have a theory about who that person actually was.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love 2 and 3 are like, I love those. No, I love Genesis 2 and 3. So
I think the perpetrator of your PhD fan was actually Craig Wright. I do, because he does have a degree in theology. He would be vaguely familiar with the subject matter.
I don't think so.
And he wants to argue with you so bad.
I don't think so. I don't think it was.
Yeah, but he has a huge man crush on you, though.
Of course, I did find it strange that this was so old. That this person, they must have been, I don't know how they would even come across it. You know?
Well, they were probably looking for anything that referenced AOC or anything that, because honestly, if I hired somebody in India to like clear my name on Twitter, and said, okay, go search on these terms and go back through all my old tweets and pull out phrases and do searches and whatever. And if anybody is critical, then correct them. So I think that it's a...
Hillary Clinton did have a whole, admitted that they were doing this whole, correction campaign where they would go through and correct things that had been wrong. Fact checking. That was her, we've got a whole fact checking thing. Somebody go and check the facts. Fact check him. Fact check Donald Trump on this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's...
Fact checking is a big deal. Factcheck.org. I mean, there's a freaking .org.
Fact check. It was when the fact checks started showing up in Google News that it started getting a little weird for me. Where I was like, why is a fact check a news story? That's
because
weird.
there were so many facts that were just wrong. So when the State of the Union came along and we fact checked the State of the Union and these things were right and these things were wrong and blah, 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 that becomes news. And it's like, really? So politicians lie to us? What? When did that start?
And it's always the weird ones are like, oh, it's half true. Mm-hmm. And then you read it and you're like, this could really be spun either way.
Either way, yeah.
This could, if a different writer could totally call this 100% true.
Yeah. Yeah, or the ones
because you can get very sort of postmodern deconstructionist with just about fucking anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends on the level of nitpickiness, right?
Right,
because
exactly.
It's like, we've categorized this as partially true.
Mostly true.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, then you read the story and it's like, well, they got the hometown of the person wrong.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
a minor detail that does not affect the overall thesis.
Right. And no, it's just partially true. But people don't read the details; they just read the headlines.
Right. Well, they don't even. They read the meter, the little true meter. They're like, oh, that's mostly true. So that's okay. That's all. I don't need to read this fucking story.
Yep. Because God, it could take 5 minutes to read through all that. Of course, with today's reading comprehension, it might, take longer. I don't know.
Well, it just won't even happen.
No, it won't.
No, it won't happen.
They'll look at the picture.
Yeah.
It was like the old joke, when it's like you hand somebody a book and they just look at the pictures. If there's no pictures, they throw the book away. That is the reality we're living in. It is idiocracy.
The scary part is that, so we've always been living in that. But the scary part is that I think and maybe that's the hallmark of a dark age, right? So I've said we're in a dim age, age of magic. Maybe the hallmark is, I feel like the hallmark of these Enlightenment periods is, it's basically the desire that there is within the zeitgeist, there is a value.
Another awesome word. God,
there is a value.
You must have found your thesaurus because you're on a roll.
A value. My vocabulary is always good. There is a value and a desire to enlighten yourself, to step out of Plato's cave, right? To step into the light, which is the reason why during the 1776 top-selling book in the United States, Thomas Paine's Common Sense. That's a fucking hard book.
Yeah.
That's a fucking hard, that's a philosophical classic. That's the top-selling book, right? And now we're in a time where people don't read.
No.
People don't read. And granted, look, I think there are some great forms of media now. I think podcasts are great, like we're doing. I think audiobooks are fantastic. I've been able to digest quite a few. I have long drives every once in a while. I'll hit an audiobook when I do my drive, like I'm doing tomorrow night to go host Free Talk Live. It's like an hour and a half there, hour and a half back. I get him 3 hours. Boom. What else the fuck would I be doing, right? So it's perfect. But it's all about what you choose to consume during that time, because you could be consuming something that will enlighten you, or you could be consuming something that will put you even further into the dark.
Yeah. Like every other podcast but this one.
I mean, it is a I think we're in a dim age because I think there's a desire to consume, but one, there's so much to consume that it's hard to know what to consume.
It's infinite. I mean, just looking at YouTube, right? I mean, there's something like 6,000 hours of video uploaded every minute or something. There is not a possible way to consume it all. And when they decide that they're going to get rid of somebody, they just delete everything and it's all gone.
Oh, yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
You know, then what?
See ya. See ya.
Yeah. You know, Instagram accounts, Twitter accounts, you know, YouTube, obviously. But Tumblr, they took down the entire website. I mean,
memory hole.
Yeah.
Memory hole. That's 1984. That's the memory hole.
Yep.
And I think that's really the most dangerous place to be in. I think when I read 1984, that whole thing with the Ministry of Truth, it wasn't so much that they were, and I think that Orwell does this on purpose. It's not really that they're changing. Yes, they are changing what's currently being put out, right? So it's like, yes, they are doing fake news, but it's the memory hole aspect. It's the changing of the past. Yeah. And they even say, like, he who controls the past controls the present. He who controls the present controls the future. Yeah. So it's like, we have to control the past. That's what the real thing about the banning and the memory holding is, that it's like, well, now you have no context, because this was the person who was a critic of, because they may get banned for this one thing, but they criticized, you take somebody like Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Right? There are some things that are legit, clearly, because otherwise, you know, he wouldn't have even been paid attention to.
Yeah.
But it's like, you take away that entire history. That's a mother. I don't know. Was his YouTube channel removed, or is it still there?
No, I thought it was gone. I thought they deleted the whole thing.
Do you know how many hours and millions of views were on that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there had to be thousands upon thousands of hours of content. Like, that's history.
Yeah. You know, and so we're taking documents, because that's what YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and all these other social media platforms, they are our modern day documents. Right?
They are, yeah. They're the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah. I mean, you think
for sure.
Think about the whenever there's a new find of, you know, oh, this person sent this person a letter.
Yes, I was just thinking about that the other day. Yeah,
yeah, you know, and so from future generations, they're going to be like, well, this person tweeted this person, blah blah blah, and if we're able to go back and revisionist history all of that away, then, you know, where are the lost letters going to be found?
Memory hole.
Yeah. And then you can paint whatever picture you want.
Yeah, because then it's just whatever the approved narrative was must have been what was the truth. That must have been what everybody was thinking, what everybody was into, because how the fuck would you know?
Yeah. You wouldn't know.
I was in a federal courthouse today. Yep. On a happy occasion, not on the one happy occasion that takes place in federal courthouses. And so I was in a federal courthouse, and to your exact point, this was they happened to have some, I guess they were copies, obviously, of some letters of a founding father that I had not even known about. Some Virginian, I forget what the dude's name was, but it was, you know, they had these documents up on the wall, you know, so they had like a little constitutional one, they had some civil rights ones, and all of these, and facsimiles of these, or maybe they were the originals. I don't know. In some of the cases, maybe they were originals. But so they had them up there, and I was looking at them, and it's like that. To where, no, this guy would have definitely been banned by the king.
Yeah,
he would have been kicked right off fucking Twitter.
Yep.
Especially this particular individual, because they were like, oh, he was a hot-blooded. He was very unliked or whatever. You know what I mean? He said that Jefferson really had to represent Virginia because he was not well liked by people, and Jefferson was really liked and all of this. So,
well, you think about the unpopular ideas of the past that have been suppressed during people's lifetimes, and by the reigning power at the time, and how valuable those things are to future generations.
Oh, they're the most. Those are the only ideas you care about.
Yeah, yeah, and they're just going away. And because it's digital, there's no recourse.
What's crazy is that if you think, the feminists of the past, so take Twitter back, right? Take it back. First wave feminists would have been banned.
Yeah.
Abolitionists would have been banned.
Yep.
Off Twitter for the people of their time. The civil rights activists banned, especially Black Panthers banned.
Oh yeah,
banned.
Yep.
Right. Suffragettes, women's suffrage, they would have been banned.
Well, they would have never been allowed on Twitter. So.
Nope. So gay rights activists banned. Marijuana legalization for medical marijuana banned. Like, we could just go down the list.
Yeah. And we wouldn't even know about them.
We wouldn't even know that they existed.
Yeah.
We would still be living in that. Like, if you could ban, imagine if they could just have banned all the abolitionists.
Sure.
Twitter ban all the abolitionists. There'd still be slavery.
Yeah. Because they were advocating for something that they wanted to get rid of, but it was totally legal. It was legal. It was enforced by law. It was
100% legal.
And this is why, people make the logical mistake of equating law with morality. And just because something, is legal,
that's a fatal mistake.
It is a fatal mistake. Because, who would build the ovens? And I say that to be funny, but it's sad and funny.
Fucked up.
It's fucked up. It is fucked up because somebody built the ovens.
Yep.
A contractor to the government built them.
Well, IBM built the machines that the Hollerith machines. That was a subsidiary of IBM. So the Lintz tattoo, the Holocaust survivors have the number. That is for an IBM tabulation Hollerith machine.
Wow. But that's when you erase history, when you ban the people, when you prevent the speech, when you deplatform those with whom you disagree today, that means that it's gone forever. And future generations will not benefit from their knowledge or experience. I don't know if you ever watched Babylon 5.
Oh, dude, loved it. I've probably seen every episode. It's been off the air for a long time.
Oh, yeah, a long time. But it was cool. I binged watched the entire thing.
Early days of CG.
Yes, very early.
Very early.
And it shows, but it was still a good show.
It was a great show.
Because I didn't watch it when it was on the air. I binge watched the entire thing on DVD, not streaming, like years later.
Okay.
But what really stuck with me was, I think it was the last episode, or maybe, I don't know. It was right at the end. It might have been the last episode. And there were these three news commentators, and they were broadcasting, and they were talking about, and significant time had passed since the end of Babylon 5, the main story. Significant time had passed, and these news people were like, oh, well, things weren't really like that. This was this way, and this was that way, and blah, blah, blah. And then, the main female character, who was now ancient, I mean,
right,
200-300 years old at this point, she comes walking in, with her entourage, and she's like, you people are fools, you don't know what you're talking about, this happened this way, and this is true, and blah, blah, blah. But if she had already died, there would be no voice of opposition.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about eliminating the voices of opposition because they're dangerous today. But what about 50 years from now? What about 100 years from now? Will they be as dangerous, or will they make more sense? I don't know. It's like we'll have to wait and find out. But if we silence the voices today because of today's values and today what we think today or who is in power today, then future generations will never even know it existed.
I think it's not even future generations. I think it's us, because I'm already experiencing, and it's interesting because a client of mine had brought this up to me years ago. This particular client of mine, we had some really great conversations, but she had brought this up to me where she has 2 young daughters, and this was when they were really, really young, but she would talk to them and they would tell her that they remembered things for which they had seen pictures of them doing it. So they were too young to really have a memory of it, but they had seen pictures of them doing it, and they sort of got a pseudo memory from that. And I've experienced this several like little things where people have said that they like strongly claim that they remembered doing something.
Yeah.
Or saying something. And it was on social media where they remembered saying something, and I was like, you didn't. Here's like a search of that. Like, you never said anything like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I genuinely think that they really remembered saying that.
Totally. I genuinely remembered
something.
that Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s.
The Mandela effect.
He did. And then of course he didn't.
He didn't. He didn't.
So memory is to be not trusted when it's about the Mandela effect, but it's to always be trusted when it's about, oh, I was attacked, I was raped, I was racially harassed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, these other traumas.
Yeah, those are absolutely 100% true every time.
Right.
But every time you have the Mandela effect, that's false 100% of the time.
Well, what I see with Jussie Smollett, it's interesting because I sympathize with him. Here's a guy, he's been on this TV show where he's watched it sort of craft reality. And I know that he's run into the same sort of situation, of course he has, that I ran into, where I would meet people and they would say things like, I feel like I already know you.
Oh, yeah. I've never had that happen.
I've never met you, but like
that's creepy as fuck.
But it's crazy because like you're in my living room every Thursday night and like for years, and it's crazy because I look at you and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I already know you, and they like be giving me hugs like, oh my God, and they like really feel like they already know me, right? Now, granted, I was pretty much playing me, so like what you see is pretty much me. But here you got this guy, he's playing a character, and I guarantee you that people would stop him on the street. I forget what his last name is Lyons or something like that on the show. But I guarantee you people would stop him on the street by his name on the show.
Sure.
Because they don't know fucking Jussie Smollett. He's no famous actor or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're stopping him on the street with his name on the show, and they're saying things about the show the same way that they would say things to me about the show that I would watch, except that I was on, except those were actually like real things that were happening on the show with real people, and that was their name. But I'm sure that they're saying things to him about things that are happening in this completely scripted narrative world, right? So what he's realizing is, and I know that this is why this happened. What he's realizing is, oh, this is how you craft people's reality. Because I understood that. Because before Donald Trump even said that he was going to run for president, I had a conversation with somebody. I forget who it was. I wish I could remember. But I said, look, give me $25 million and a slot on network TV, and I'll give you your next president. Because I had realized after being on reality TV, like how powerful, how the media could craft people's reality.
So all I heard was that Donald Trump was your fault. Okay, gotcha.
No, I mean, I knew that we were going to have a reality TV president. That was basically it. That I was like, it's too powerful because it's too powerful.
It's hugely powerful, and so yes,
and now we're going to have, and I guarantee you, we're going to have a wrestler president. I guarantee
for sure
because it's reality TV.
We had a governor. Jesse Ventura was governor of Minnesota.
That's right. I
mean, the next step is president. Right. I mean, you can either go the congressional route.
That's right.
Or you can go the governor route.
That's right.
I mean, we're one step away.
We've had an executive. Yeah, we've had an executive. That's true.
So,
is there any more wine?
Oh yeah. Here you go. So I saved you.
All of it.
Well, no, I have to give you all of it
left?
because I slightly overpoured my last glass.
Fair enough.
So there you go. Now we're even. So, yeah, it is the weirdest thing because they do, the NPCs of the world really do believe that they get to know somebody based on what they see online, on television, in videos on YouTube, whatever. They have replaced actual interaction with a person with social media interaction with that person or just randomly viewing that person. So, is it that difficult to think that a completely new fake person couldn't become a real person with real news and real things reported about them? I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened. Maybe it has.
Well, the thing is that there's a reciprocal relationship there, right? So
sure.
So not only for me, I think maybe because I'm a bit antisocial by nature and like I just, for me, that was always like, okay, be polite, be nice, take a photo. That's great. Cool. It was and then like move on. It was never a rush for me, whereas I know that like for some of my other co-stars, it was really a rush for them, And some people, they are willing to subsume their identity into that which they are recognized for. So, like an example is George Takei, Sulu, right? You watch. There's a great George Takei documentary, but even here he is, this fucking old ass man. He subsumed his identity into the Sulu character because he would be recognized as Sulu out on the street, whatever, and that was like he got social value from out of that.
Yeah, it's always a payoff.
Right? And so that's like, there are enough individuals who are willing to do that, who are willing to fall into that and just become that. I think it's true for a lot of wrestlers too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where it's like, first off, it takes a lot to... and it's probably not even like that it takes a lot or not. It's just however you're programmed. If you're an agreeable person, you're fucked.
Totally.
You're fucked.
Yep.
Because they'll just be like, you'll just be like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am. If you're a disagreeable person, you're the type of person who, so like someone like a Johnny Depp, where you're like, I'm just fucking moving to France. I'm gonna live in a chateau in a small town. And just like people are gonna fucking ignore me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm moving there.
Yep. I'm gonna live out here with my millions of dollars and my hot wife.
And that's what I'm gonna do.
I'm gonna roll my own cigarettes and it's what I do.
And and the guy says, I don't even watch my own movies. Which I don't necessarily believe, but I think he's trying to make a statement.
Sure.
Right? That it's like, I'm a disagreeable fuck and I'm able to separate. Like I want to be able to have me and then to be able to do the thing that I do professionally.
But to me, that's almost a desperation, right? Because I think that actors do get lost. Some of them get lost along the way. It's like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. I'm a dude dressed like a dude, acting like another dude.
Right.
Great movie. But that's the thing, is like they lose their actual identity because they've been pretending to be other people all along the way. From childhood in most cases. Like you were talking about professional athletes a couple weeks ago, actors are the same way.
Sure.
Like from childhood, somebody identified that, oh, well, you're acting or whatever, and then they act their entire life and they never define who they are.
Well, so then you've got two things there, right? So if you've got somebody who's, let's say, like a movie actor, they are going to have multiple roles that they do. They may never find their true self, right? They're always searching for you get like a Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Who's going to is notorious for going into all of these characters and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But then you get somebody who's, let's say, on a long-running TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, have you ever seen BoJack Horseman? Have you ever seen that show?
I have watched, I think, one episode, but I've seen the commercials.
You gotta watch it. I mean, I don't know. It resonated for me having been on a TV show, so I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But it's you gotta watch it because it really is that. It's like, it's not that you don't find yourself. It's that you embody this character for so long that it becomes you, and then you can't shake it.
Yeah.
It's like it possesses you and it's riding you, and you don't know. Then you also don't know who you are, right? Because it's like it's just there all the time. Like it's there with you, and in some ways you don't. It's weird. Like in some ways you don't want to shake it. Because there's some period of time, but I always consciously knew this, to where I was like, even from the first season, I remember sitting in with a meeting at Showtime and saying, and Nick was sitting right next to me. I remember this. We were all in this meeting with Showtime after we had shot the first season, but it hadn't aired, and they were saying some shit about, they were trying to put a gag order on us and tell us all these different things, and showed us the real L word. You know how many of these women are still on this show? Just one. We could let go of any of you at any time. And I was like, look, here's the deal. Because they were giving Garen a hard time about like promoting the agency. Like he was like, you never even put the agency on the actual, you never even said the name of the agency. And they were like, our job is not to promote you. Our job is to do a show. And I was like, look, here's the deal. You're not paying us enough for us to just be out here to not promote ourselves. We either get what we can get out of this, and then we're good moving forward, whether that's reputation, whether that's financially, whatever it is, moving forward, or we're a joke at the end of this, because this thing is not going fucking 15 seasons. And Nick next to me goes, yes, it is. It's going 15 seasons. But it really is that, to where there's a certain point where if you're still hanging on to Sulu, and the show has been off since the fucking 60s, you're a joke. Now, Takei was able, thanks to Howard Stern, was able to take it, you go out to joke, and then if you go just long enough, you go to hero. That's Don Quixote.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Like, Takei took it into Quixote territory, because it's like, okay, this dude's fucking crazy. He's fucking crazy. He's fucking crazy. Wait, he's sticking with it. He's sticking with it. I admire the fact that he's sticking with it. Holy shit. Wow, this guy's, he's a fucking legend. I like this guy. Okay, yeah. Oh, he's a fucking real knight.
Yeah.
That's how Don Quixote works.
Yeah. So you remember 16 Candles?
Yeah, Molly Ringwald. Who else was in that?
Well, that's what I want to talk about.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, there were a lot of famous people.
Who the other the one, he's got a brother too. He was kind of like the heartthrobby guy. What's the fuck is his name? Somebody will say it in the chat. Anyway, go ahead. 16 Candles. Yes.
The main character, the dark-haired main lead male character, who was the the love interest of Molly Ringwald.
That's what I'm asking. That guy.
I believe that was his only movie ever.
No, he's in more than that. Isn't
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Because my understanding was that he actually he came in, he did the movie, everybody loved him, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to be this huge star," and he's like, "You know what? Peace out. I'm going to go home because I'm sick of this." And
shit, good for him.
Yeah, and but that to me is somebody who has perspective. And
but what ended up happening with his life?
I think he's a carpenter.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I mean, he's got a solid job. But he ended up being, as far as I knew, the last time I thought about this, as far as I knew, his life had gone on very normally.
Normally, right.
He was like, yeah, that Hollywood just not for me. I'm good. I'm just going to do this.
Good for him, dude. He's smart. He's smart on that.
But people lose themselves, and I think Eminem sings about this. But they do. They lose themselves in the character, not realizing that they still need the separation from the character. And then, now we have AI creating whole new people. So where do we actually separate real people from characters?
Well, that's when it gets weird. When there's a mix of real people and characters interacting with each other because that is going to come first.
Well, it already is. We talk to NPCs all the time.
And then it's going to be just characters interacting with each other. And then that world is going to be real weird when the fucking aliens show up.
Yeah, because then you wake up and you realize, oh, it's all a dream.
And with that, we're done with the wine.
We are.
I think we're done with the show. We've pulled off 2 hours. And people go and check out thispersondoesnotexist.com. It's a weird one. Click around for a while and see if you're as weirded out as we are by it. Also, you can go to bitbacker.io/powerchat/Vin You can contribute to the wine fund with Bitcoin Cash, Smart Cash, and Bitcoin. Shout out to JJ Hales, who was here just a couple weeks ago. We interviewed him. Bitbacker.io. We are loving it. Any final words, sir, before we take off?
No. I think that I, for one, welcome our new wrestler president when that occurs. Trump is very connected with the McMahon family. And of course, everybody important in wrestling has to be connected to that family.
That's right.
So, if it's not Jesse Ventura, because he's a total wacko, it could be somebody else. I wouldn't mind a little Stone Cold, like opening a can of whoop ass on Russia or something.
The word is The Rock.
The Rock would be absolutely the right
He would win.
He would
win,
choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's nobody but, Cena also.
John Cena could win too.
But he's so white, right?
That's right.
The Rock has him beat totally.
And that smile. And smile.
Yeah.
You just trust everything that dude says.
Yeah. But you also know he's joking, but not really.
Right.
But maybe he is.
Right.
And it just throws everybody totally off. And they're like, oh, man, it's The Rock. I'm just so happy to be here with The Rock.
Right. I would probably vote for The Rock, and I don't even vote. So we'll see you guys again next week. Oh, wait, are we doing next week?
No, I am off next week. So I'm going to be on the road.
After next, we will see you on Destination Unknown. Go.